Hello friends, and welcome back to Rachel's Baking Corner. Today we will be making biscotti. I have never made this before. I only recently tried it for the first time like a year ago, so I'm really kind of new to this world, so I figured why not try it. The recipe itself reads pretty simple, so I'm really pumped to just give this a go, and if it's easy, and I feel like it has less ingredients than cookies do. Maybe this will become a regular recipe for me, I don't know. So let's try it out, okay? Okay, we're gonna talk ingredients, we're gonna talk tools, and then order of operations. Sounds good? Good? Good. Let's do this. So for this recipe, you have your traditional cups and teaspoons or grams. So I'll go over both. I primarily use grams because it's just a little more specific and I like it that way. So here's both for you. When it comes to the flour, you have either 2 cups or 250 grams, granulated sugar 1 cup or 200 grams, 2 eggs room temperature, a teaspoon of vanilla, and half a teaspoon of almond extract, which is optional. Active ingredients is 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of baking powder, and then half a stick of butter, which is also known as 4 tablespoons or 67 grams. That's it. I guess I should mention I'm probably gonna drizzle some dark chocolate on top of these, but that is not required in the recipe. That's not a part of the recipe. That's just good old fun, if you ask me. I will be using my KitchenAid with my standard paddle attachment. You can use a hand mixer, you can use elbow grease and frustration or excitement. This doesn't seem to be too involved of a recipe, so it's just whatever you have available or you're willing to do. I decided to whip out the good old KitchenAid because it's been a minute and she's getting lonely. And by she, I mean Fern. My KitchenAid's name is Fern. And if you haven't started naming your appliances, start. It's really fun. Life's too short. Then we have baking sheet with parchment paper, or in my case, I'm gonna use a Silpat because it's less waste and it always works for me and it's easier. So parchment or Silpat. Obviously, rubber spatula and a whisk, your usual stuff, and a good attitude and love. So let's get baking, yeah? Yeah. First things first, we are going to mix our flour and our active ingredients. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know what I'm going to say. We want to stir the active ingredients into the flour to make sure that those chemicals or ingredients are fully suspended in the flour. We're gonna set that aside. I'm just gonna put that right here for now. Now, very similar to cookie making, we are going to beat up our butter and our sugars together. That's half a stick of butter and 1 cup of sugar. We are going to beat this on low just to get everything incorporated, and then up to like a medium high, and let this whip up for about 2 minutes to incorporate some air until the butter and sugar is light and fluffy. Here we go. I usually find the paddle attachment works best for creaming butter and sugar together. So we started this on low, and you can see that the butter and sugar have combined. So now we're gonna turn this up, and we're gonna just give this a little bit of time. Before you know it, it'll fluff up and be beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna be completely honest. This is not really whipping up like usual. I think it might be a little too cold in my house. I honestly have no idea what's going on. I just want to be very transparent on my channel and mention if I'm having problems with the recipe or something like that. So I'm not really sure what's happening. My butter and my sugar are just kind of staying together like a dough and just flopping around my bowl. They're not creaming and whipping together like it usually would. My butter was room temperature. My sugar was a little cold, but I don't know. So I've let this whip for like 5 minutes now and it's not really doing what I want it to. So we're just gonna proceed and hope for the best. But that's the problem I'm having, and I want to be very honest with you. So this is what I mean. This has been whipping for a while. It looks very well incorporated, but it's not doing the light, fluffy, creamy, borderline frosting thing that it usually does. So I'm gonna let it go for a little longer, and then we're gonna see what happens and just continue on. So I've dropped this down to the stir setting, so it's not as fast as like low. And we're gonna incorporate 1 egg at a time. I have 2 eggs in here. That's more like it. That's more like it. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit more. And we're gonna try to get some air in this process to kind of remedy what we didn't get air in the first step. Now we're talking. Now we're getting air in. Let's add the next egg. Bringing it back down to stir, and we're gonna add our next egg. And turn that up a little bit. Much better. I always say, trust the process. It always works out. It always works out. And you almost always end up with something delicious every time, even if it's not what you're expecting to get in the final product. So let's turn this down. Let's add our extracts. This is vanilla and almond. Immediately, just the smell makes me so happy. We have a really beautiful concoction now. I'm much more content now. We've got a very silky and beautiful situation going on here. Now, we are gonna add our dry ingredients. So let's do that. I'm gonna just start with a little bit because I don't wanna wear my ingredients. Start off slow. I'm gonna kind of tinker on and off, just until I know it's safe. Wasn't safe. When it comes to Rachel's Baking Corner, one thing is guaranteed. 2 things are guaranteed. You're gonna have a fun time, and a mess will be made. I can promise you that. It's like in my DNA or something. We want this just mixed until barely incorporated. As soon as you start seeing the last specks of flour disappear, stop mixing. Now the recipe calls this a dough, like cookie dough, and it indeed is very cookie dough-like. So that's great. It means we'll be able to handle it with our hands a bit, which is gonna be the end goal, so that works out. I was worried this was gonna be a little more batter-like. Shall we give it a taste? Delightful. Buttery, vanilla, not super sweet, thank God. And that almond is just so fragrant and delightful. Love it, great. You may have noticed I switched to my paddle attachment with the silicone side. I'm having some alignment issues with my KitchenAid, and my regular paddle attachment wasn't reaching the sides very well, so I switched over to that one, so that's why. Here's our final dough. Buttery, thick, manageable. I'm excited. On to prepping the dough. So, like I said, this is very cookie dough-like. According to the recipe, we are going to divide the dough in half and then shape it into these like oblong logs. Oblong logs, oblong logs, oblong logs, oblong logs. It's not a lot of dough, so I'm gonna just kind of guesstimate half. I guess I can always pull some over from the other side. Again, this is a baking dish lined with a silicone baking sheet. There, let's call that half. My baking sheet is clearly not very level. It's bent, so it moves a lot. It says to use floured hands and just form it into a smooth surface, basically. Okay, floured hands, which is already making a mess. And I'm gonna just kinda, yeah, that is kinda working. This says a 8 by 3 inch log, oblong log. I'm terrible at guesstimating measurements, but let's see. Yeah, that's not bad. How flat does it need to be? Does it say? I don't know how much this is gonna poof up, so let's hope for the best here. I guess 3 by 8 and however thick that ends up. Okay, I can't obsess over it too much. I mean, I can, but I won't. Note to self, get the flatter pan next time or put a towel underneath it. Jeez. Okay. They're more sisters than they are twins, but that's okay. I think that's all right. We're gonna call that good. I'll be right back. Just a moment, please. I'm gonna clean up. In the meantime, you want your oven preheating to 350 degrees. Let me go over this one more time. The loaves that I made, they're not loaves, but these little blobs that I made are 3 inches by 8 inches roughly. I patted it smooth and turned it into basically like a weird oval. And the recipe says you want them about 4 inches apart. My guess is that's about 4 inches. And then pat it smooth with your floured hands. Then we want to bake this in our 350 degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes, rotating halfway through the baking time. So I'll probably start 15 minutes, rotate, and then let it go for another 15 minutes, but checking on it when it has about 3 to 5 minutes left. So we want to bake these loaves until they're just golden brown and beginning to crack on the top. Then we are going to pull the loaves out and let them cool for 10 minutes. We're going to lower the temperature to 325 while it's cooling for that 10 minutes. We're going to try to transfer these to a cutting board and cut them into those signature biscotti cookies. And then we are going to replace our cookies onto the baking sheet, cut side up. And then they're gonna bake in the 325 degree oven for another 10 to 15 minutes. When you cut your little cookies, you want them to be about a 1/2 inch thick slices and separated about a 1/2 inch apart, just like you would a regular cookie, so that they have room to expand if they do. So my oven dinged, you heard that. So let's get these in the oven and I will see you when it's time to pull them and slice them. Nice and golden brown on the edges, starting to crack a little bit like the recipe said along the sides here. It smells so good in my house right now. So we're gonna let this rest for 10 minutes. So we're back. These have baked for about 25, I would say like closer to 28 minutes. I did pull them before 30 though, because they were getting nice and golden and I didn't want them to overcook. They've been cooling now for 10 minutes. So we are going to pull them off of our baking sheet, cut them, and then put them back on our baking sheet and continue to bake them for a little while longer. So let's do that. I have a serrated knife and my wooden cutting board, and then I have my offset spatula to just pick this up. So I've touched it. It seems pretty firm at this point, so I think I can handle it. Great. All right, so it's like a big cookie at the moment. I can touch it without it hurting me, so that's good. Let's hope I can cut it properly. Oh yeah. You really want to use a sawing motion so that it doesn't break the cookie. Oh, this is stressful. Okay. It's got a beautiful crust so far. Okay, so let's lay these cut side up, it says. I can't imagine these are gonna expand too much more, so I'm not gonna worry about spreading them too far apart. Let's get on with it here. I'm gonna do the end piece smaller this time. I went kind of big with my end pieces, and I feel like it's wiser to do it smaller. That way you get more regular biscotti pieces. So we're gonna get these in the oven, 325 now, for another 10 to 15 minutes just to finish cooking them thoroughly, okay? Then we're gonna do some chocolate fun. Yeah. Here is our finished baked biscotti. Now all that there is left to do is drizzle some chocolate on here. We have some really pretty texture. They got nice and golden brown on the bottom. Nice and crisp. They smell so good. Now we will be melting some chocolate. I have my Wilton Chocolate Melter Deluxe. I have had this since I was like 14 or 15 years old. It's basically just a metal pan that gets warm in this thing, so. And then I have Private Selection 62% cacao dark chocolate chunks. We're gonna just throw it in here. I don't know how much. We'll start there. You can always add more. So we are going to drizzle our chocolate. So that means I would like to add a little bit of coconut oil to help thin it out a little bit. The coconut oil will help thin out the chocolate so that it's easier to drizzle, and it also makes for an easier mouthfeel too when you're eating the actual chocolate. It's not as hard. The biscotti is already hard. We don't need to add to that. So let's just start with like, I don't know, a little bit. I'm so good at this. I don't know, I don't measure this out. You just want to have a really pretty consistency with your chocolate. Nice and runny, but not too runny and not thick and gloppy. I am going to set aside a few undrizzled so that if someone wants to taste it without the chocolate, they have that option. I got 27 cookies out of this. Not bad, not bad. Let's see how our chocolate is looking. Nice and smooth. And then it's definitely drizzly, so that's good. I think what we're gonna do is just use this spatula, get it coated in chocolate, and just start drizzling. All right, now we'll get the other side. Good, I think that's plenty. Great. I'm going to put this in my freezer to let the chocolate set, and then we will put it on our cute little board and get some glamour shots and then taste it. Yay! Here is our finished biscotti. Got a beautiful chocolate drizzle. some without. And they all look beautiful. Let's give them a try. I'm really excited to see how these turned out. I'm gonna go with, I guess it doesn't really matter. This one broke on the tip, so I'll go with this one. All right, let's give this a try. Do you hear that snap? They're so crisp. Oh, and that was the perfect amount of chocolate. It's not overpowering. It complements it so well. Can you hear how crunchy this is? It's beautiful. It's vanillaed. It's very buttery. It's light. The texture, although it sounds so crunchy, is very satisfying to chew on. I think if this was dipped into some tea or hot coffee or hot cocoa, ooh, that would make this even better. These are delicious and they were really easy to make. And I'm kind of surprised I haven't done it before. So let me know in the comments down below if you've made biscotti before, if you have a recipe you preference, or if you've tried different variations or twisted it up a little and tried something new. I would love to see what you've tried before so that I can try it too. I really hope you liked this video. Leave a like if you did, maybe subscribe, that would be really nice. And I will see you really soon in the next video. Thanks again for watching. I love you. Mwah. Bye. See you really soon.